It's Rachel. It is the middle of February, and as the growing season gets going, things are going to get pretty crazy around here. I am going to try and capture every week what is going on in the garden and just do these as a series called This Week in the Garden, or TWIG for short, so I can stay on top of things and get you guys relevant information as quickly as possible. And each week I'll go through and share where I'm at in terms of the temperatures we're experiencing, as well as our day length, because that affects the growth rate of everything out here. And then I'll share what I think is of most interest to anybody that's gardening. I will share what I'm currently harvesting out of the garden, what I have growing outside in the garden, anything that is started as a transplant indoors and how that changes week by week, as well as any critical prep work that I'm doing on the site or in the greenhouse in support of all of the action out here. This week, the week of February 11th, we had a little warm snap this afternoon, and that's why I'm able to film outside. But generally, we are experiencing temperatures in the 20s to mid 30s Fahrenheit, and our day length has barely gotten above 10 hours a day. My last video, I talked about the early spring garden. I do have that in the ground and things are growing, but we are barely out of the Persephone period, and I've not yet had significant regrowth. Consequently, the only thing I'm really harvesting right now is arugula. That's the arugula that I managed to help survive that nasty cold snap that we had earlier this year. It's full grown, harvestable size, and miraculously it is still alive. So check out that experiment if you want to know how to keep arugula longer. But then, as you saw in my last video on the early spring garden, I have a lot actively outside growing in the garden. Not yet harvestable, but it will be soon as my day lengths increase. That includes lettuce, some spinach, I've got giant red mustard out here, I have bok choy out here, I've got some kale plants that are going to size up nicely for me, and I have carrots in the ground that hopefully with this early start to the growing season will be a nice harvestable size by late spring or early summer. Indoors, I have my chard transplants. It is warm enough for chard to survive outdoors right now, and I could have put them in with the early spring garden. But the ruby red chard that I'm currently growing is prone to bolting quickly if it experiences nighttime temperatures below 50 degrees ahead of the growing season. For that reason, I'm going to keep those chard transplants indoors for now, under my grow lights, and only put them in the ground once the nighttime temperatures have gone above that number reliably. But the main topic for today is the other thing that I have growing indoors, and that is my own sweet potato slips that I have started from sweet potatoes, you'll see in a second, left over from last year. I had an absolutely abysmal sweet potato harvest last year. I'd ordered slips, they came too early. I kind of limped them along until I could put them in the ground, but they were in really rough shape by the time I got them planted, and I got basically no harvest off of them. I'll show you in a second how I'm turning that into a positive. Because I had a very suboptimal sweet potato year last year, instead of getting normal sweet potatoes, I got a lot of these little, I don't even know what to call this. It's a tuber. But I don't think anybody would see this at the grocery store and go, yeah, sweet potato. I decided to go ahead and save these because this year I'm going to start my own sweet potato slips. And you can suspend a sweet potato in water with its root end down in the water, and sprouts will come out of the top. Those grow into slips, and you can cut those off and in turn root them in water and grow your own sweet potato slips. So while I knew these were not even remotely worth trying to eat, if nothing else, I can use them to grow my own slips this year and save some money. All is not lost. The goal with sweet potatoes is to have just the bottom part submerged in water and the top part well above and dry. If you're trying to figure out which end of the sweet potato is which, you can kind of see, I'll try and zoom in. There's tiny little hair-like roots coming out of one end of this, and at the other end, you can see these teeny little sprouts trying to start. This is the sprouting end, this is the rooting end, so I'll put the rooting end into the container, and I'm just going to keep going until all of the decent ones in here are in here. Most often you'll see this done with a sweet potato suspended in a jar of water, because I have these crazy long skinny shapes. Ones like this I can honestly just drop in here and plenty of it will stay above the water line, but I do have a few small ones, and here I'm doing more of like the conventional approach. I've got some toothpicks in the sides, you can kind of see those little root hairs on the bottom, couple little sprouts trying to start off there on the top. I'm going to place that inside the well such that just the lower half of it is submerged in the water and the top half stays dry. But these tall ones, no need to do that. They're going to stay dry all on their own. You can see I have filled this tray almost all the way to the top edge here with water. I'm going to put these on a heat mat to help get the roots started. And I'll just quickly note, while my grow lights are on a timer, my heat mat is not. It is plugged in separately so that it will stay consistently warm at all hours of the day while the lights turn on and off to mimic daylight. This is what they look like a couple of weeks later. I have been changing the water weekly and I have them under these grow lights, but otherwise I really haven't had to do much with these. I did switch to these smaller containers, partly because I needed my 72 cell trays for other purposes, but also because when these are completely full of water, it is really hard to pick up and move an entire big tray. If you have smaller ones like this, I recommend using them instead. But you can see these are doing quite well. Healthy root systems to the point where it's almost getting root bound. I'm gonna have to put these in something else soon. And I'm starting to get nice little shoots. I already had a few of these, as you saw before, with tiny little sprouts forming already. And consequently, as soon as I put these in the water, they really took off. If you were to use a sweet potato from the grocery store that was not already sprouting, be patient. It might take 3 to 4 weeks before you start getting any kind of significant root growth or sprouting from the tops. But if you can be patient for 3 to 4 weeks, you should start seeing this. I might start harvesting some of these bigger shoots soon and putting them in water. But for now, I'm still at step 1 of growing my sweet potato slips. That is it for this week. I will give you updates on those sweet potato slips as they keep going. And then next week's main topic will be about starting onions from seed, because this is my first year trying that. I hope everybody is off to a great start to the gardening season, and let me know if I've missed anything or if you have questions, drop them below and I will do my best to answer. Otherwise, until next time, thanks.